Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you all doing? Test, test, test. It's not a big room, so I'll use my outdoor voice. We have, you don't have a lot of, do you have a lot of Indian tribes down in New York City? You have a lot of Indian tribes?
Lots of Indians.
A lot of Indians, yeah. We have like one significant tribe in our state. It's called the Nanticoke. And every year the Nanticoke in southern Delaware have a powwow. And it's a big festival, weekend-long festival. We have a big area where people get together and dance, a big area, and a circular area. And I always go to kick off the powwow every year when I was governor and as a senator as well. And I was there about 2 months ago. The fellow who was supposed to do the introduction was new, young, and he wasn't sure who I was. And so he was supposed to introduce me, and I would walk out to the middle of this huge arena and had a portable mic and I would speak to everybody. And he couldn't remember who I was. So I took the portable mic and I walked out to the center of the arena and I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce one of the great Delawareans of all time." And I went ahead and talked about this person and introduced myself. I won't do that here today. It was a lot of fun at the time. We found out that Nanticokes have a sense of humor, which is a good thing. I'm happy to be here with Senator Bozeman. He's just been recently re-elected, and we're giving him a nice round of applause. Happy to be his wingman. And I have a son, who's two sons. One's a mechanical engineer. They're both in their 20s, late 20s. And one of them's out looking at business school in Palo Alto, California, where we go to. And I used to live there. I used to live not in the school, but I used to live very close to Stanford. When I was a naval flight officer at Moffett Field Naval Air Station during Vietnam War. When we weren't overseas in Southeast Asia, we were back home in Palo Alto, Middle Park. If you ever driving down Route 101, you go by the Mountain View, actually you look to the east, you see these huge dirigible engines, huge three of them, that we used to call the infantry airplanes. And when I was, we didn't live on rigs, so we lived in Palo Alto. And I would go about every other week in my Volkswagen Carnegie with a rebuilt engine. And I would fill it up with newspapers and other papers, and glass and cans. We were in the Navy, then quite a few beer cans. And I, from a very early age, I was a recycler. I was about 22 then, and I've never stopped. And it's just a joy to try to have a position now where we can encourage people. When I was down in Delaware, we weren't very good recyclers in Delaware, and one of the things that I didn't do enough on in Delaware to encourage and send folks to recycle. And now we're a big recycling state, and just having just about everybody in the state who has any trash or refuse, they separate it, and we're not so much a single stream state as we are separators. And we don't separate the glass, and that's kind of a problem sometimes for us because the glass gets crushed and can contaminate the other recyclers and reduce the value. We do something in our state we have a Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Control. Within that Department of Natural Resources so as an adjunct to that is the Delaware Solid Waste Authority. We have a number of landfills in our state. And the Delaware Solid Waste Authority is responsible for acquiring land for landfills. We don't have a lot of land in Delaware, so we finally decided when I was governor, said, we're using up too much of our little land that we have just for landfills, and let's figure out how we can not do that. So now we do a much better job on recycling. As it turns out, there are a lot of jobs that flow from the recycling that we do in Delaware, and certainly a whole lot more nationally. My wife, one of the cars that she bought, in 1996 Ford Exploder, she's an Explorer, we call it the Exploder, and she drove it for 8 or 9 years and handed it down to Christopher, our oldest son, and he handed it down to Dan, our youngest son. And then finally, after about 15 years out on the road, I took the Exploder to a place where they recycled it, the whole thing. And they gave me a check for like $900. I never told my wife. And so all I got for drinks is milkshakes or something afterwards to use some of that money. But the people who work there at the place where we recycle the Exploder, they have pretty good jobs. And the folks who receive in Delaware or maybe up in Philadelphia receive our recyclables that are picked up in my home every Monday morning in our part of Wilmington. They have jobs as well. And if you look across the country, hundreds of thousands of people have jobs. And instead of just putting the stuff in landfills in Delaware and using up the little space that we do have, we're putting people to work. And we're still coming back from the worst economic recession since the Great Depression. We lost at the end of the last 6 months of 2008, we lost 2.5 million jobs. First 6 months of 2009, we lost 2.5 million jobs. And starting in really about 2010, things bottomed out and we started gaining jobs. We've seen 15 million jobs created in the last, roughly 6 years. And that it's the longest economic recovery that we've, I think, ever experienced in this country. Not robust, it's not like boom, like a rocket, but slow but steady, kind of like the tortoise and the hare. But it's been sustained, so it's been sustained, and that's a good thing. One of the things that we haven't done a good job is starting to do a better job in terms of the jobs that are created. For the first, we'll say, 4 years, out of those 6, the jobs that are created mostly between $20,000 and $40,000. The last 2 years are mostly between $30,000 and $60,000. So pay is going up, income is going up as the recovery stretches out and lengthens, and that's a good thing. But some of the people who lost jobs in my state used to work at the Chrysler plant. 4,000 is closed. Some people in my state used to work at a GM plant. 4,000 jobs closed. Some people in my state used to work at the DuPont nylon plant in Southern Valley. It's closed. Well, it's there. There's about 150 people work there. We lost our steel mill, and so the kind of jobs that we used to depend on in my state, especially on the manufacturing side, a bunch of those jobs are gone. And what we're trying to figure out to do is how to make sure that the people who are displaced, who are in many cases unhappy, in some cases angry, what can we do to help them to provide for their own livelihood and to do something about it to society. And as it turns out, they can do what in the sustainable energy field. A lot of people are doing that in wind and solar and that kind of stuff. I'm a big nuclear guy. A lot of people are still operating, actually not building nuclear plants, and I think including some modular plants around the country very soon. But we can actually put a bunch of people to work and help a lot of people to work in the business of recycling. And that's a very good thing. It's good for them. It's good for our economy. And it's good frankly, for our environment. And it reduces the need for us to put stuff into the landfills that really could be put to better use in our economy. So I'm thrilled that other people have this interest. I'm thrilled that I get to work with them every day, and especially pleased that I get to work with my friend from Alabama and John Bozeman, who shares my passion, my interest in this, and sees this as not just something to do to make us feel good. When I used to go to my Volkswagen Carnegie John to drop off recyclables in Palo Alto, California, it really made me feel good. And I just knew it would have been in a landfill someplace. But now when I recycle, we have a big deal where we can bring in our electronic recycling, run by the Delaware Solid Waste Authority. We do them every month from the spring, summer, through the fall, all over Delaware. And people show up on the weekend, and just maybe do it in the parking lot of the school, and people can bring stuff in to be shredded. They can bring in their electronics. I took a TV set that my wife had owned long than we've been married. We've been married 30 years. And they gladly took it. We didn't have to pay a fee or anything. So that's the kind of thing that we do in my little state. I'm very proud of what we do now. I must say, before I became governor, I wasn't so proud of what we do on a volunteer basis for recycling. We're doing a lot better. Proud of what we do. All right, with that having been said, the folks in Alabama are a lot smarter than we are, at least with respect to recycling. And they're smart enough to re-elect John Bozeman. And I'm delighted to be, again, his wingman for the next couple of years. And to turn the podium microphone over to him. Nice round of applause for John Bozeman. Sarah, who's Sarah? Sarah Swanson's my new executive director, John. She was nice enough to buy me a cup of coffee. Some days, if I'm really sleepy, she pours it on my head. So, not today.
No, that's great. It's a real pleasure to be with you all, and it's also a pleasure to work with Senator Carper. We're very fortunate to have somebody like him to work with. We can be very proud of his efforts, and he's somebody that's very, very well respected here. And you can tell, from the comments and this and that, he's just a good person. You can disagree up here without being disagreeable, and he's certainly the definition of that. You know, very quickly, this is so important, you know, in the sense that I can still remember growing up, and some of you that are a little bit older, like me, I simply did not leave a room unless I turned out the light. It just didn't happen. And you know, I was taught to do that. Conservation was a big deal because electricity back then cost a lot of money, and my parents didn't have a lot of money, and so as a result, you just did those things. And even today, when I leave a room, when I do this or that, I turn the light out. You know, in the sense that it's just something that's ingrained. I feel like my dad was a retired master sergeant in the Air Force when I was growing up, so I learned very quickly. He didn't ask us to do a whole lot, but when he asked us to do something, I knew we needed to get it done. So conservation is so very important. Recycling is as was just said, it's a no-brainer. You know, it's good for the environment, it's good for the economy. And those are the kind of things that we look for. The other thing that's so great about this issue is it's nonpartisan. You know, again, everybody can agree with that. It's not, besides the people in this room, it's not a very glamorous issue, but it is a very important issue. And the fact that we're having this meeting today, trying to highlight that, is you know, the way that we're moving forward, and making sure that we can do all that we can for the industry. I know with commodity prices low, that's a difficult situation, but along with that, you've got the unfunded mandates of the regulatory atmosphere that we're going through. And again, we need regulation, but we don't need regulation for regulation's sake. So those are some of the real issues that we're facing right now. So I want to thank the panel for being here. I'm going to go take a seat and listen to you guys. So it really is a pleasure. Thank you.
Could I add a PS? John Bozeman. I sat down, John, I realized you're from Arkansas. It's like all the people that say that I'm from Maryland.
I was from Alabama. In the sense that I wish I had Alabama's football team.
Good afternoon. My name is Robin Wiener, and I'm the president of the Institute of Scrap Recycling Industries. And it's wonderful to be here today on American Recycles Day, and I'm very grateful to the Senate Recycling Caucus for inviting ISRI to address the state of recycling during this very important briefing. And let me start by thanking caucus chairs, Senator Bozeman and Carper, not only for hosting today's event, but also for their long-standing leadership on recycling and recycling issues. For those of you who are not familiar with ISRI, we're the voice of the recycling industry, representing 1,300 private, for-profit recycling companies in the U.S. and around the world that process, broker, and consume the entire range of recyclable commodities, including metals, paper, plastics, glass, textiles, rubber, and electronics. Our members are located in every state in the country and range in size from small family-owned businesses to large multinational corporations. ISRI promotes safe, economically sustainable, and environmentally responsible recycling through networking, advocacy, and education. So what is the state of recycling today in the United States? Well, despite difficult market conditions that our industry finds itself faced with due to slow economic growth at home and abroad, recycling remains a very vibrant activity and the first link in the global manufacturing supply chain, supplying nearly 50% of the world's raw material needs while providing unmistakable economic and environmental benefits in our local communities across the country and throughout the globe. The recycling industry has long been recognized as one of the world's first green industries, born out of the need to recover and conserve valuable resources. From the earliest of times, people recognized the intrinsic value of recycling and the benefits associated with using and reusing existing materials to create new products. Today, the U.S. scrap recycling industry is a $100 billion industry dedicated to transforming materials to create new products and driving economies by making the old new again. Last year alone, the recycling industry transformed more than 130 million metric tons of obsolete materials from consumers, businesses, residential sources, and manufacturers throughout the U.S. into specification-grade commodities for purchase by industrial consumers the world around. Those commodities included 67 million metric tons of iron and steel, 47.2 million metric tons of scrap paper, more than 8 million metric tons of aluminum, copper, and other non-ferrous metals, more than 5 million tons of electronics, more than 3.5 million tons of plastic scrap, and more than 122 million scrap tires. Now, notice that I use the word commodities when describing the materials the recycling industry recycles and produces. This is because recycled materials are commodities. They are not waste materials. They're highly valuable and sought-after products produced according to globally specified and recognized specifications for purchase by industrial consumers around the world, including steel mills, metal refiners, plastic manufacturers, foundries, and paper mills, to meet their raw material needs. Recycled materials are routinely used in place of virgin commodities, since they're often less expensive, of comparable, if not better, quality, and save energy, which are all important factors in the manufacturing process. The numbers tell the story. Today, in the U.S., steelmakers rely on iron and steel scrap, processed from items as diverse as automobiles, household appliances, demolished bridges, and old machinery, for producing roughly 2/3 of all the steel produced in the country every year. More than half of the paper industry's needs here in the U.S. are met today through the use of recovered fiber produced from such items as old newspapers, magazines, catalogs, office paper, and used corrugated boxes. As one can imagine based on these examples, and there are many, many more such examples, recycling is an important economic engine and job creator, and the economic benefits generated by the industry are widespread. An independent study conducted by John Dunham and Associates shows that the recycling industry directly employs more than 149,000 people in the United States, with an additional 323,000 Americans supported by the activities of the recycling industry each year. These are real people with real jobs, making an average of $77,000 in wages and tax and benefits, and generating more than $11 billion in federal, state, and local tax revenues annually. Recycling offers real solutions for balancing economic growth and environmental stewardship. By protecting the Earth's air, water, and land, recycling gives us a means to minimize our impact on the planet and directly contribute to our quality of life. For example, using recycled rubber from scrap tires to construct roads has both significant safety and environmental benefits. Roads constructed with rubberized asphalt last longer, provide more traction, which is especially important during rainy and icy weather conditions, and are quieter, thus reducing the need for other sound-absorbing or blocking structures such as walls and similar noise barriers. Senators Carper and Vitter have been at the forefront of efforts to promote asphalt alternatives, and we greatly appreciate their support and leadership on this specific issue. Another key area of growth in the recycling industry is in plastics recycling. Plastics are all around us, from the beverage container we drink out of, to the dashboard in our car, to the clothes on our back. Our modern society would be lost without the performance and utility that plastics provides. What many of us, though, don't realize is that these very same plastics are increasingly being recycled and processed into new products and put back into commerce. Plastics recycling is the fastest growing segment of the recycling industry, with more than 3.5 million tons of post-industrial and post-consumer plastic scrap recycled in the U.S. last year. According to a joint report issued by the Association of Plastics Recyclers and the American Chemistry Council, collection of post-consumer plastic bottles has grown from under 500 million pounds in the late 90s to just shy of 3 billion pounds in 2015. Post-industrial plastic scraps, such as PVC from building and construction debris, pallet and film stretch wrap used to package goods for transport, and engineered plastics from electronics, are increasingly finding their way into the commodity stream, with recyclers making significant investments in capital and technology to capture these materials. As recyclers bring more of this material to market, we expect to see a dramatic jump in the plastics recycling rate in the coming years. ISRI is working with other stakeholders in the recycling chain to overcome any of the challenges that new materials may pose so they can be integrated into the overall recycling stream. For example, earlier this month, ISRI approved a comprehensive set of post-consumer scrap plastic specifications that will help to ensure new materials are recycled and added to an already diverse array of materials that plastic recyclers handle. Now, I started my remarks a few minutes ago by highlighting the difficult market conditions that have existed for recycling during the last several years, which has made this an extremely challenging time for the recycling industry. Why, though? The question is, why are these markets so difficult and challenging? Well, it's important to understand that the health of the recycling industry is closely related to the health of the global economy, and thus it's sensitive to the state of both domestic and overseas manufacturing, as well as fluctuation in currency markets, the flow of imports, and of course volatility in commodity prices. So it's no wonder that the scrap market is cyclical in nature. When I first began working at ISRI more than 25 years ago, I was told that Alan Greenspan, who was then chairman of the Federal Reserve, monitored scrap prices as an indicator of the direction of the economy. That relationship continues to hold. And I would argue that we're even more tied to the state of the global economy today than we were 25 years ago. But as with all down cycles, we believe that this one is coming to an end, leaving recyclers in an even better position to benefit our economy and our society in the months and years ahead. In fact, our industry's response to today's challenging market conditions has resulted in additional improvements to our operational efficiency and quality, along with a renewed commitment to safety. And an industry whose facilities utilize heavy equipment, worker safety has long been a concern and a top priority for ISRI and our members, which is why ISRI signed an alliance agreement last year with OSHA to work together on industry-wide safety education and awareness efforts. Now, before I conclude my remarks, I want to highlight one other issue, and that's the role we all have to play in encouraging the next generation of recyclers. This is an issue that's close to my heart as the mother of two young girls who not only believes strongly in the importance of recycling, but also believes in the importance of the availability of education programs to encourage and foster education in the sciences, technology, and math. I'm therefore very proud that ISRI is playing an active role through the distribution of the K-12 school curriculum designed to connect the science of recycling to the act of recycling. Personally, I can't think of a better way to influence the next generation of lawmakers, journalists, manufacturers, and global citizens than through a conversation that starts in our schools. I hope you'll join us with this effort. Thank you. Now, we have a great panel assembled for all of us today, which is focused on plastics recycling, from consumer collection through the manufacture of products made from recycled plastics. We start with Brenda Pulley, representing ISRI's close partner and friend, Keep America Beautiful. Brenda will address what's happening in communities across the country with recycling outreach, including current challenges and opportunities. After Brenda, we'll learn more about what happens after the blue bin and about new products made with recycled plastics. Aideen Quinn and Dave Headless from ISRI members Sims Municipal Recycling and Trex Company are here to provide us with that perspective. So without further delay, it's my pleasure to now turn the podium over to Keep America Beautiful and Brenda Pulley.
Thank you, Robin. Hello, and can you still hear? I think we'll do this time. It's a pleasure to be here, and I join Robin in thanking the senators for their leadership in improving recycling in America. Since 1953, Keep America Beautiful has worked to fulfill a vision of a country where every community is clean, green, and a beautiful place to live. Our mission is to inspire and educate people to take action every day to improve and beautify their community's environment. Our work is driven by the tireless passion of more than 620 state and community-based Keep America Beautiful affiliates, but as well as state recycling organizations, business partners, government entities, and millions of volunteers across the country. We have three main goals. We seek to end littering, improve recycling, and beautify America's communities. So join me today. It's America Recycles Day, a national initiative of Keep America Beautiful, but it is also the national day that we recognize it's dedicated to raising awareness and celebrating recycling in the United States. It's in its 19th year, and I know a few of us can remember when it started. It's in its 19th year, and we're very proud that, like ISRI members, there are many other partners across the country, such as community recycling coordinators, teachers, workplace green team leaders, and other passionate advocates that are hosting events and promoting recycling locally in their community in a variety of ways, similar to the event that we're hosting today. And we're pleased to have been able to partner with ISRI to provide senators and members of Congress on the House side with a toolkit that provides local messaging and the benefits of recycling and inviting them to share that with their constituents. So hopefully some of you have seen that. Through experiential education, America Recycles Day events nationwide help get people to better understand the how, what, where, and most importantly, the why of recycling, and encourage them to recycle more, and as many of us know, more of the right things, whether they're at home, at work, at school, or on the go. While Robin provided an overview of the recycling markets and many of the economic benefits of recycling, I want to also note that EPA today released its Sustainable Materials Management Fact Sheet on the 2014 recycling rate. The good news is it's slightly up to 34.6%. They also released a new economic report providing information on wages and tax revenues generated from the municipal recycling sector. So you may want to look for that. While many factors play a role in making recycling successful, at Keep America Beautiful, we're focused on how to most effectively educate, motivate, and activate individuals to recycle more and more of the right things. Considering the current state of recycling, this is more critical than ever. Research conducted in partnership with the Ad Council in the development of our I Want to Be public service advertising campaign reinforced that Americans really do want to recycle. Approximately 2/3 of respondents said recycling is very or extremely important issue to them. However, when asked about the frequency of recycling, nearly 2 in 3 Americans indicate they do not recycle regularly. An additional study that we just conducted and released this morning indicates that consumers are skeptical about what happens to their recyclables. 33% of respondents indicated that they are skeptical that the recycling they put at the curb actually gets recycled. Moreover, millennials surveyed have a much higher degree of skepticism. The skepticism consumers feel about the recycling underscores the importance of all of us working collectively to better educate consumers about recycling. Rather than trying to get non-recyclers to completely change their behaviors, we're focused on trying to motivate occasional recyclers to do just a little more and helping them to make recycling, turning it into an everyday social norm. The research conducted with the Ad Council indicated that consistent emotional messaging around what products can become will help motivate consumers to take that small step for a big change, meeting a big need. The I Want to Be Recycled PSA campaign creatively moves people to see that an individual can give your garbage another life by recycling. So when talking with consumers about barriers and solutions to recycling, the most motivating concept was that a product or its packaging didn't have to be waste, but indeed it could become, what we say is, it could have a next life, if you will, when it is recycled. I would also note that based on our updated research that we just released, these concepts remain among the prominent reasons people indicate as to why they recycle. 1, to reduce the amount of waste going to landfills, and 2, to conserve resources by having materials be recycled into new products. So that soup can becomes a bike, the plastic water bottle becomes a park bench, and that shampoo bottle becomes a new hairbrush. You'll get to hear one example of those new products in just a few minutes. We launched the first phase of the campaign with 2 PSAs. Here's one of those PSAs we call Journey. And I will say for those of you online, you'll be able to hear and see it. For those of you here, you may have to use your imagination on the storytelling part because we may have some audio, but you can see the visuals.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
So I invite all of you, please, you can go to the website and see those ads and hear those ads, okay? Over the past 3 years, we have received more than $150 million in donated media to date for the multimedia campaign. The campaign has also driven over 4 million individuals to the website to learn more about recycling. And while it ranks among the Ad Council's top performing PSA campaigns, we look forward to its growing its reach and impact in 2017. So as an industry, part of our challenge is to make recycling an easy act to take. Bottom line, making recycling convenient is paramount for people to participate in the behavior of recycling. But further, access to recycling must be accompanied by clear communications that educate, but also emotionally engages individuals to recycle more of the right things the right way. Frankly, plastics recycling serves as one example of some of the challenges. Not all plastics generated are currently recyclable. The good news is that innovation to develop markets for plastics continues, as Robin indicated, and the industry has been and continues to work to unify and simplify how to communicate which plastics to recycle. This is critical to continue to help get that cleaner stream, or as we say, to reduce contamination. Based on a recent survey, 67% of respondents indicate that if those that recycle, that if an item is plastic, they just put it in the recycling bin. So we have our work cut out for us. Join us in helping to make recycling more economically viable, creating jobs, and providing a higher quality stream of recyclables to manufacture new products, while continuing to reap the greater environmental and community benefits. This year's America Recycles Day call to action is Be Recycling. It's an invitation to individuals to actively live a recycled lifestyle. We encourage everyone to commit to reduce, reuse, and recycle, the mantra in every aspect of their lives, to participate in the act of recycling, and to buy products made from recycled content. We believe that recycling is essential to keeping America beautiful. Please visit americarecyclesday.org to find out more of what can be recycled in your community. And we ask that while you're there, we invite you to take the Be Recycled pledge. Please, let's keep America beautiful. Recycle. Thank you for this opportunity.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Adine Quinn. I'm the Education and Outreach Manager at Sam's Municipal Recycling in Brooklyn, New York. We process most of New York City's curbside residential recycling. So in a little bit, we'll watch a video, get to see it happening in person, and I'll run you through the process of how that works. Okay, and yeah, hopefully my talk today will do a little bit to reduce some of the skepticism that you might, that Brenda was talking about earlier. Recycling is happening, we do want your materials, and we do have places to sell it that they'll use it to make new things. Okay, so as you've probably noticed, recycling rules, what you're supposed to put into the bin in DC is maybe different than what you're supposed to do in your home state. Those aren't just arbitrary rules meant to confuse you. There are different systems in place depending where you are, what the facility like that it's going to, where it's actually going to get sold at the end. One of the main differences in recycling programs is the degree to government involvement. It can be an entirely municipal-run program. The city can own its own trucks, it can own its own facility, it can market the material itself. In a lot of places, recycling is not a national mandate. A municipality can leave it totally up to the private sector to see value in the materials, recover it, and get it to places where they can recycle it. In most places across the US, though, we do have a public-private partnership on recycling programs. For example, in New York City, Department of Sanitation owns its fleet of trucks. Sims Municipal Recycling, a private company, we own and operate a facility. And then on the back end, we do have a revenue sharing agreement with the city so that when profits are high, we are sharing back our profits with the city. Another way it can be different is how it's collected. When recycling programs started across the US, most were dual stream. They asked people to separate their recyclables their material into 3 streams: paper bin, metal, glass, and plastic bin, and then a trash bin. Now that has kind of been shifting over the years. Most of the US is moving towards a single stream recycling program. That's an effort to reduce collection costs, increase participation rates, and so that is a popular move most cities are moving towards. That is putting all your recycling into one bin, keeping your trash separate still. There are some places across the US that are moving to a one bin collection system. Residents don't necessarily know they're recycling, they're putting everything into the same bin, and that's going to a specific type of recycling facility that can handle the mixed municipal solid waste. Okay, so now we're just going to take a moment to look at how New York City's dual stream public-private recycling program actually works.
Believe it or not, people have been required to recycle in New York since 1989. It's one of those laws that is not heavily enforced. More than half of all the recyclables that are produced in New York City are still thrown out in the trash. Even at the relatively modest recycling rates the city achieves today, there's still an enormous amount of material. And so that both justifies and actually requires us to put in a lot more sorting equipment than one would typically find.
Doing about 500 or 600 tons a day here. We have another facility in Jersey where we run another 300 tons a day or so. We're getting about 900 tons a day of this material.
Our process consists of taking that mixture of material we get from the curb, and we run that through the processing system, which consists of a very large slow-speed shredder, which opens up all the bags and disentangles everything, disc screens, which are used to screen away all the glass.
The magnets are pulling off all the ferrous metal, which we then further separate into a tin can fraction and anything that's ferrous metal but not a tin can.
Ballistic separators, we're separating two-dimensional from three-dimensional material, and then a whole sequence of optical sorters to eject various grades of plastics as well as cartons.
Basically that camera, using near-infrared light, is taking a photograph of every single object on the conveyor belt. This one is looking for PET plastic. It tells which air jet to fire. Will actually fire on that PET bottle and eject it onto 2 conveyors.
I think actually we have about 2 miles, more than 2 miles of conveyors in that plant.
We do as good a job as we can with the mechanical systems. We have this last manual quality control system. These guys are either looking at something that's trash that shouldn't be in there, or something that's a different commodity like aluminum that shouldn't be in there either, but we want to recover.
We actually spend a huge amount of time and money just getting the plastic bags away from the other recyclables, and then it ends up, it's a residue going to a landfill. Materials might be in our system from 2 to 10 minutes from the time it's pushed into the in-feed conveyor to the time it's pushed out of the back end as either a baled product or a bulk material to be sold. Fascinating is that this is just one step in the process. You then follow that bottle on to the next step where it's being ground, washed, flaked, pelletized. There's a lot that goes into it. We're a private company, for-profit company, and we're in the commodity business, but the recycling industry, as far as I'm concerned anyway, is inherently part of the sustainability economy. It's not specific to New York. There's a larger wave that isn't going away in terms of awareness about environmental issues.
So yeah, a few of the challenges that we face in making the nicest bales we can are, the first thing, glass. Glass is definitely an issue in terms of recycling. It is thought of as a very eco-friendly material, which absolutely it is in a lot of ways. But when it comes to recycling, it's difficult. We receive these very small pieces of glass, and it requires expensive equipment to sort them out into the different colors. And not to mention, glass is a very corrosive material. The way it pounds on the conveyor belts and tears them up requires more maintenance to run in a facility processing glass. And then at the end, even if you have the material sorted out, it is a relatively low market value material. So it can be hard to make the numbers work and make it worth it to separate out the glass in some places. Another big challenge for recycling facilities is the plastic bags. As you saw in that video, there's a lot of bags that we're getting. New York's a little bit exceptional with the number of bags that we get. Through a material recovery facility, through a facility like that, plastic bags get stuck in equipment. Even after we sort them out, they trap moisture. There's valuable bottles that are stuck inside them that we don't have an opportunity to get out. It is tough. They absolutely can be recycled though, plastic bags. If you bring them back to a grocery store and they're kept nice and clean and dry, it's a valuable material that Trex absolutely wants. So yeah, definitely encourage you to do that. Don't just shove them in your bin because you hope they get recycled. Okay, so a few things to look out for in the future. One thing that I think is promising is pay-as-you-throw programs. It's something that some communities are looking towards as a way to reduce waste. It can be rolled out in a few different ways. One opportunity is people decide the size of their bin. If they want a big garbage bin, they have to pay a lot of money. If they're willing to try to not produce very much garbage and use the small garbage bin, they can save money. They're given the same size recycling bins, so they can recycle as much as they want, but they're restricted on how much waste they're producing. And the EPA has found that typically this can lead to about a 30% reduction in waste, and absolutely leads to overall cost reduction. Another thing to keep an eye out for is we should expect to see landfill costs increase. The landfills that we're currently using, they will be reaching capacity within the next few decades, and we'll have to find new spaces for landfills. Landfills are pretty unpopular to add to communities. The environmental impact aside, it will be expensive to find new places for landfills, and landfill fees will go up, absolutely. So we need to be doing what we can now to grow infrastructure for recycling so that we can recycle more and landfill less.
Good afternoon. I'm Dave Heglis. I'm the Senior Director of Material Management at the Trex Company. It's kind of good that you put me last because sometimes when I get talking about recycling, I continue to talk. But the most important thing that I think for you to keep in mind of Trex going last is we're taking recycled material and turning it into a product. And that's key in the whole recycling process. Through collection and processing, in order for it to be sustainable, you need to have an end market or an end product for the recycled materials to go into, and that's one thing Trex provides. A little history of Trex, you may or may not know. We've been around for 20 plus years. We're the largest manufacturer of high-performance wood alternative decking and railing products. We kind of got our start in the early 90s as part of Mobil Corporation. At that time in the 90s, Mobil was developing the grocery bag to replace paper bags in stores. The hefty trash bag was a Mobil product that they developed. And at that time, they had the forethought to think about recycling. What are we going to do with all these materials as they enter the market? And they actually purchased a small company and started a division, the recycling division, or the composite products division within Mobil, to recycle the plastic that they were producing for use in the market. In 1996, 4 of the executives that were managing that division of Mobil bought the division from Mobil and became Trex, the private company. In 1999, we became Trex, the public company, and that's where we are today. Trex is located in Winchester, Virginia, which is about an hour and a half west of here. That's where our headquarters are, our R&D facility, and our largest manufacturing plant. We also have another manufacturing plant in Fernley, Nevada. So we're situated equally east and west coast, and we recycle material all across the country. Trex is unique because we're vertically integrated in the recycling business. Not only do we provide collection services, we also reprocess the material, and we turn it into products. So we can complete the loop of recycled material from kind of cradle to grave. And recently, we've expanded some of the product offerings that we have, is now we're taking some of the recycled films that we collect and convert them into a pellet to be used by other companies outside of Trex for blown films, molding, and profile extrusion applications. I think we have a short video now to kind of overview the recycling process and our manufacturing process. And again, I'll just point out, because I don't think the audio is working.
We encourage you to think beyond grocery bags and recycle other types of plastic film. You'll be doing your part to reduce your environmental footprint and keep these materials out of landfills. The range of recyclable plastics found in your kitchen alone is amazing. Everything from newspaper sleeves to sandwich bags and the wrappings around paper towel rolls can be recycled and transformed into new products. And the list doesn't stop there. At collection centers across the country, a wide variety of polyethylene plastic items can be deposited and recycled, including dry cleaning bags, bread bags, produce bags, furniture and electronic wrap, plastic cereal box liners, diaper wrap, plastic shipping envelopes, case wrap, and all clean, dry bags labeled number 2 and number 4. Many of these recycled items end up here at Trex. In fact, Trex is one of the largest recyclers of polyethylene plastic in the nation. Millions of pounds of plastic, just like the bales here, make their way to our plants in Virginia and Nevada every year. That's enough plastic to fill 67 football fields 3 feet deep. Let's see what other types of plastic are in this bale besides grocery bags. Looks like we have some bread bags, some paper towel or tissue paper, toilet paper overwrap, sandwich bag, a newspaper bag, a paper towel overwrap packaging. We've got a fuel pellet bag and a case overwrap for water. After inspecting each item's materials for quality, our manufacturing process transforms these materials into beautiful, eco-friendly outdoor living products like decking and railing. And our manufacturing process is just as green as our product. Trex's production method eliminates the need for smokestack, and any leftover material is recycled back into the manufacturing line. Trailers are hydraulically powered with vegetable-based oil, and Trex packaging materials are made from recycled paper and plastic. The end result, like this board here, is a product that's not only eco-friendly but durable, low maintenance, and beautiful for years to come. In all our years in the decking and railing business, Trex hasn't cut down one tree to manufacture our products. And we're committed to reusing as smartly as possible, creating innovative new products from not-so-new beginnings. This commitment begins at the local level. We work closely with major national grocery and retail chains to secure recycled materials and sponsor several community-based recycling programs. So the next time you're about to throw out that grocery or sandwich bag, recycle it instead. Together we can make a greener planet.
Okay, so to give you a little more facts about Trex, the deck boards you saw that we produce have 95% recycled content. So it's about 50% the polyethylene films, commercial and consumer films, and that waste wood I talked about from flooring and furniture manufacturers. So altogether, in a given year, we're recycling over 400 million pounds of waste material when you add up the plastic and the wood. Kind of put that in some terms that maybe you can kind of understand the magnitude. A typical 500 square foot deck, if they use Trex boards, are going to have over 140,000 pieces of post-consumer film. So think about post-consumer film, it's that retail bag, it's that newspaper sleeve, it's the overwrap that's on the case of water, it's the bag your apple came in. In a 500 square foot deck, which is 10 by 25 or so, that's a lot of pieces of plastic in that deck. I mentioned earlier we recycle over 400 million pounds of scrap material a year. The plastic portion of it's about 200 million, and that's about equal between consumer films and commercial films. In the past 10 years, we've recycled over 2.5 billion pounds of scrap plastic. And on the wood side, you could say it's equivalent about another 2.5 billion pounds of wood. On the consumer film that we focus on as part of our collection targets, over 50 million pounds of consumer film we recycle each year. How do we get that? Most of it comes through take-back programs at retailers, grocery stores. You're all probably familiar, I grew up around here, so your Giant, your Safeway stores, that bin, it's in front of the store where you can bring back your plastic from your home. We have over 10,000 locations all across the country for the consumer to bring that material back through the grocery collection program. We've actually expanded that, so really that, and I'll talk about a little bit later, of the kind of three components as we see recycling: communications, collection, and consolidation. The collection point can really be anywhere where a program is set up specifically for film. We have programs with nonprofits, we have municipalities collecting film, recyclers collecting film. So we don't limit ourselves to just getting the plastic film we recycle from grocery stores. We try to make it as easy as possible for the consumer to recycle their film in a location. And one other thing we do, part of the communication piece is, and I think that's key moving forward, is continuing what organizations like ISRI and other trade associations do to promote recycling, is educate that next generation. So we have over 600 school programs each year that we go out and have a recycling challenge, and where we promote the aspects of, or the value in recycling that scrap at your home and turning it into a product. Kind of the 3 C's of recycling as we see it is the communication piece, the collection piece, and the consolidation piece. On the communication side, we target everybody. Everybody has plastic film, whether you're a recycler, whether you're a manufacturer, a retailer, a school. We try to educate recycling coordinators, municipalities. We work with many trade associations, environmental groups, legislators, and the general public, all trying to communicate to them the fact that the packaging they have in their homes, the polyethylene packaging, can be recycled. On the collection side, primarily we work with a lot of retailers to use reverse logistics for the distribution process. So most of the major retailers have stores that they have distribution centers feeding products to. We set up a collection hub at the stores for consumers to bring the material back, and use the empty trucks going back to the distribution center to bring the material back to a point for consolidation. Recyclers also play a role in that, collecting material from small generators, bringing it back to their facility, and consolidating it in bale form. Municipal recycling facilities, the same thing, collecting film, bringing it back to one focal point, and consolidating it. One thing I want to talk about too is, and it's kind of the kickoff we kick off today, is our plastic film recycling challenge. And I mentioned we target education at the elementary school level. The plastic film challenge for Trex begins today, America's Recycle Day, and it ends on Earth Day, April 22nd. And what we do is we encourage elementary schools to compete against each other to see how much of these types of materials, the post-consumer films, that they can collect. We provide them collection bins, we provide them posters, magnets, and kind of an educational toolkit so that the teacher can explain to those students the importance of recycling and how it can go back into products. The winning schools are awarded a bench made out of Trex because I think it's important to show that complete loop where you have the recycled material going back into a product, and every school wins and gets a planter. So we try to make everybody win in the process. Last year we had over 500 schools in the United States participate and 175 in Canada. So we see this as a good way to get that next generation to make recycling, as the senator said, like turning on and off the light, turning off the light when you leave the room. We need to make sure recycling is something that we do automatically, and we feel educating that next generation is a key way to go. Some of the products that we produce, you can see from the video, but our main product is lumber. To be used for decking and railing, and that's an example of the Trex deck. A lot of those components are that we produce with the recycled film of the wood, the decking material, the railing material. We have aluminum products we offer. Underneath this deck, there's a steel substructure made out of recycled steel. It's a Trex product that we produce. The pergola, so a lot of the components on this deck, or the accessories on the deck, are all Trex products, and most of them, as many of them as we can, we try to make out of recycled product. And this is just some samples of different colors. So a lot of people say you can't make high-end products out of recycled material. We're evident that we can do that. So this product and these different colors all contain recycled film or recycled bottles to make these products. In addition, the new product we have is we're taking some of the films that we collect, the commercial films, and turn them into pellets for other companies to use to make film with recycled content, molded products like trash cans, or tubing products like hose and irrigation tube. Just want to kind of end on an end note. Every time I do a speech, I always like to go down to our warehouse and just look at a bale and see how well some of the things I'm promoting as far as post-consumer recycling is going to work. So I went down yesterday and just pulled this plastic out of a bale, and happened to be a post-consumer bale from Iowa. And in that bale, consumer put a water bottle overwrap from water. Here's a produce bag, bread bags, and I'll pick this up. Kleenex. Here's some commercial stretch film. So this came from the store. So this is a product we use to make the pellets. But without going through all this, there's a wide variety of all the films, the post-consumer films that are in your house. So it's kind of rewarding for me when I just go out and look at a bale and pull this bag and realize some consumer in Iowa is getting the message about recycling and is saving all this stuff and packing it away in their bales. Thank you. And this bag has 50% recycled content in it. So we make our own collection bags for collecting recyclables, and it has 50% recycled content.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Adine, and also thank you, Brenda, for these wonderful presentations. And I also want to thank, again, Senators Bozeman and Carper for inviting us to hold this briefing and to be here and talk to you about recycling and the importance of recycling to our environment and to our economy. Recycling has been a vital part and a vital element in manufacturing for well over a century in the U.S. and around the world, and its continued success is dependent upon solid economic growth. And of course, policies, legislation, and regulation that clearly recognizes the value of recyclable materials for what they are, commodities, and not waste. Policies that promote infrastructure spending are also critical to the long-term health of recycling, as recyclers need a reliable transportation system and network to get our products to market. Infrastructure spending also boosts the use of recycled materials, since much of the steel, aluminum, and other materials used to make our roads and bridges, as well as our rail systems and our ports, are made from recycled materials. And with 30 to 40% of the scrap recycled in this country annually exported to industrial consumers in more than 150 countries around the world, reduced tariff and non-tariff barriers to the free and fair trade of scrap is vital as well to the growth of the domestic and global recycling industries. Finally, in order to improve recycling, manufacturers of consumer items from automobiles to electronics must consider how their products will ultimately be recycled. Congress can help in this effort by urging federal procurement of products that have higher recycled content, that contain fewer toxic chemicals, and are designed to be easily and safely recycled. Raising awareness about the need to design products for recycling makes for responsible recycling. I want to thank you for all of you being here today.